Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar in this series of Winning in Life After College. My name, as many of you know by now, is Mamta Chaudhary, and I'm the Director of Early Engagement at the OSU Alumni Association. My role includes working with our amazing students as well as our impressive and beaver-spirited alumni. Our webinar today is such a relevant topic, and I know that we will all greatly benefit from our speakers' expertise. Let me tell you, I personally have, and that is why I'm so very proud to bring this support to all of you. Before we go more into the session, some logistical reminders are your questions that you submitted during registration have been received and will be addressed during the webinar. You can also use the Q&A tab that you see at the center bottom of your screen during this webinar, and we will get to those questions as well. While we will try to address as many of these as we can, in case we are unable to get to each one of these by 1 o'clock, please connect with us on email and LinkedIn. You can see that information on the slide right now. So please connect with us, and we promise that all your questions will be answered. And also please stay till the end of the webinar because we have some time saved up at the end to catch up on all the questions that we may have missed. So I'll hand over to my lovely colleague, Yulia, who has kindly offered to help out with today's session. Yulia will introduce herself, and then you will hear from our speaker, Lori Rush. Yulia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mamta. Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. My name is Yulia Dennis, and I oversee our alumni career programs. And if you have questions about LinkedIn that you'd like answered, you'd like a profile review, a resume review, or you want to know more about how we can help you with your career goals, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help. And I'm really excited to have Lori here speaking with us. And so I'll turn it over to Lori to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. Throughout my career, I've been a hiring manager, a human resources manager, a corporate recruiter, an agency recruiter, and 14 years ago, I started my own business as a hiring, HR, and career consultant. I so enjoy helping both the job seeker and the hiring company to find that right fit. I'm a proud alumnus of Oregon State University and enjoy mentoring and helping students as well as fellow alumni. Alumni can be a powerful resource for you. It's Beavers helping and supporting Beavers.
Awesome, thank you for that, Lori. So audience, to make sure all of you are engaged and that we have enough information about you, we are gonna have some poll questions for you so that we get to know you and what your needs are. Let's start with the first one. And we are asking you to let us know what best describes your graduation status. Are you a 2015 or older alum? Or an alum between 2015 to 2020, or are you currently a student? While we are looking at this, let me just reconfirm that Lori has prepared content and Yulia is going to talk about it as well in a way that is going to address all the student aspects of it and alumni aspects of it. So not to worry, but from the poll results, it looks like we have a lot of alumni. We have 58% of our alumni are graduates before 2015. We also have a good amount of recent alum, and we have 34% current students. Thank you for voting, guys.
Thank you, Mamta, for that poll. And just a very quick overview. Today, we're going to talk about why use LinkedIn, how it can help you with your job search, look at how to set up a good profile, what best to put on, and some best practices. And Lori's wonderful with lots of information about this. So I'm really excited to have all this content for you today.
Great. So now we're going to talk about why to use LinkedIn and how it helps. Having a professional online presence is extremely important, both in your job search and throughout your career. Recruiters, both agency and corporate, go to LinkedIn first when they're searching for talent to fill their positions. Hiring managers check LinkedIn profiles for candidates, even if they applied in a different manner. LinkedIn is a great research and informational tool. You can follow people, companies, industries, and be better informed about your industry as well. This is a really easy way to keep in touch with your network and former colleagues and former fellow students. When you keep in touch and people see your presence, they are more willing to help you and respond to your requests for introductions, information, and informational interviews. Mamta?
I am unmuted now. It looks like one of our viewers was not able to view the poll in the web browser. Isabel, I don't know if you can look into that, but in the meantime, we are going to go ahead with a second poll. And for those of you who cannot see it, I apologize. And those of you who can, please continue to answer. We are asking you if you have a LinkedIn profile, and if you do, then how active you are on it. Well, as expected, there's a very small percentage of our viewers today who don't have a profile. That's about 7%. So this is the seminar for you guys. You will know exactly how to set up a profile after this, and it's going to be awesome from the starting. We have 56 people who have 56% who have a profile but are not active. So at the end of this webinar, you will know why you need to be active. And yes, 37, big shout out to the 37% who have a profile and use it actively. Yay, guys.
Great. Well, let's talk about the first thing, the professional cover photo. LinkedIn is one of the very few platforms where a professional photo is expected. In fact, it's a detriment if you do not have a photo. And the smallest details are very important with your profile, and the photo is one of those. Make sure that you wear clothing appropriate to your industry and your profession. A professional hairstyle, and nothing, you want to be as conservative as possible unless it relates to your industry. It's all about your industry and where you're going in your career. But you do want to be fairly professional. Neutral background, you want to focus on you and your face. And you notice the pictures on the screen here, those are all very good profile photos. And some professional photographers will take LinkedIn headshots for a small fee. So don't assume that professional photography is out of the question for you. I'd check with them first and see if you can get one at a very small fee, because what they're excellent at, and they're professionals on lighting. Lighting is extremely important with your photo. And a relaxed smile is very important. Again, we talk about those details, and it shows you're approachable and that people want to know more about you. Okay, the next slide is creating a great headline. This is the first thing that everyone is going to see. You are marketing yourself in a very few words and very short sentences. And it needs to grab the attention of the reviewer in order for them to want to find out more about you. It's got to be impactful and informational. You want to state your expertise or position, possibly your industry, and one sentence that describes what you bring to the table. And this should state how you can help a company or an organization solve their problems. And one thing I want to note, do not state what type of a position or opportunity that you are seeking. Companies really do not want to know what you want. They want to know what you can do for them. And I wanted to make a comment about that. This is when people on resumes have stated what they're looking for. It's called an objective, and that's really obsolete with resumes. So wanted to interject that as well.
And Lori, I do have a question from someone who submitted. So their question is, how will LinkedIn in general help me with my career?
Basically, this is part of the you never know who knows who, and LinkedIn is the professional Facebook or Instagram. This is where you can get connected with people, where you can ask for help from someone and they can connect you to someone who can connect you to someone else. It may not necessarily directly help you find a position, but if you go through, there could be some indirect ways that you can meet people that may end up helping you later on in your career, maybe not immediately. And that's why it's very important to keep in contact with people and keep your connections going.
Well, awesome. There is an audience question which is very relevant at this point, which is about the PowerPoint. So I must clarify at this point that the PowerPoint that we are sharing today will be placed on our osualum.com/winning website, and you will be able to access it. So you don't necessarily have to take pictures or screenshots yet, but you will have access to the PowerPoint later. Thank you.
And then we wanted to share briefly with you how to create a custom URL. Something that I highly recommend you do is put your custom URL on your resume and or your business cards. And the custom URL can be something simple such as your name. And here's the directions for how to do that. You can go into your LinkedIn homepage, click view profile, and then edit public profile and URL. And because recruiters and HR professionals do look at your LinkedIn, I think that all of us should just have our LinkedIn link on our resume. That way people already know what your profile is. And definitely, I think that it also helps you to increase your network as people are looking and noticing you, and it helps you keep that connection going.
Okay, let's talk about what to put into your profile. So this can be kind of daunting for those of you that don't have a profile, but trust me, you just answer the questions and fill in the blanks. But your LinkedIn profile should mirror your resume. And I know that was one of the questions that was submitted. When you've submitted your resume for a position, one of the first places, as we talked about, is they go to the LinkedIn profile to see how it matches your resume. So make sure it mirrors your resume. And on both, you want to highlight your skills and accomplishments. And make sure that you use keywords for the position that you're in and the industry. Talk the talk of your industry. Excuse me. Okay, so here's a question. First person versus third person in your LinkedIn profile. And I do want to say up front that third person is preferred. And let me talk a little bit about the difference between first person and third person. First person is basically you are writing about yourself. Third person is somebody else is talking about you. Third person sounds and is more objective, so that creates that more objectiveness. And then just an example is first person is I work well with others. Third person is works well with others. It sounds it's a stronger term and a stronger verb. So that's why you don't want to talk about you like you're talking about yourself. You want to act like somebody else is talking about you. And make sure that your profile is complete. I'm going to go through your profile. The top of it is the photo, your headline, your intro, and your about and summary. This about summary section is most important because it's the key to the reviewer scrolling to review more of your profile. So that's where you're going to catch recruiters, corporate and agency, or other professionals, hiring managers. If they want to, this is very impactful and they want to see more, then they're going to scroll down. The one thing that people have talked about is if you should put down, at the top of your profile, if you are seeking other opportunities, be very careful with that. If you do that, you've opened it up to receiving hundreds and hundreds of inquiries. You want people to, you want to say what you do and what you can bring to the table, but I kind of caution on, I'm looking for this, or I'm seeking new opportunities. If you, in your professional experience, if you have put an end date on your most recent position, then most people can read into that. So in talking about that, the professional experience, make sure you focus on your skills and your accomplishments, how you helped that organization when you were there. Be sure to include, there's the next part of the profile is organizations, interests, education, skills, certificates, any additional education. I know some of you have just received your degree or getting it, but any other kind of courses that you have taken. And also, are you following certain groups? And then also, don't forget about community service, where you can put that down. It's very important for companies and hiring managers to know that you will give up your time. You will give of your time to help others. It has become more and more important. And I have seen situations where someone that was very involved in the community was selected for the position over someone that was not, was not active in their community. The other one is recommendations. Make sure you ask for recommendations and that you give recommendations. And also make sure you join LinkedIn groups. There's a lot of LinkedIn groups out there, and that's the way that you can get connected to people. And all of these ways are ways that you can connect to others where it can help your career.
Lori, thank you so much for those. And at this point, I think it's really impressive that you are sharing with us what you look at from a recruiter's point of view. And thank you for bringing that perspective. We talked about headline in one of the previous slides, and I have a number of audience questions regarding headline. So one of our questions is, where do you put the headline on LinkedIn? And Julia, Lori, if either of you want to take that one, where do you put the headline?
Do you want to go ahead, Julia? Or?
Sure. So there's going to be, so when you do your profile creation, there's going to be a point. One option is you could put your current title. Let's say you're employed somewhere. That's what I do. It just simplifies it for me. But then there's going to be a point in which when you're typing your information in, when you say edit your profile, there's going to be a headline in there. And that's where you can say your statement. I'd say something short and to the point is going to be the most effective. You don't want to have it be too long. Lori, any other comments on that?
Mine is the same, is make it very, very short. Don't try to say too much, and don't use first person. Don't use I. Keep it the third person, very professional. It's short, simple, and with information. Don't put a lot of fluff in there or a lot of extraneous words, because people are looking through very quickly, and you want to make sure that you grab them right away.
Do we have an example to share? Because that is one of the audience questions. Can you give us an example of a good headline?
Well, the headline for the example here was really good. Marketing consult, if you can go back a couple.
Julia, slide 5, I think.
Yes, this one. Marketing consultant bringing the expertise to your marketing budget so they go further, and creative sower. The creative sower, I might take that part off, but it's basically, what you bring to the table. You could make this one a little bit shorter, but it does grab you, because you can kind of see what this, so really they do this to the marketing budget. So it's short, it's to the point, but it also says what this person is. They're a marketing consultant. So that's why you don't want it to be you want it to be professional, to the point, and give information. So that one is a good example.
Yeah, okay, awesome. And somebody was asking if the headline is same as the summary, but I believe it's different. We showed that the headline appears immediately under your name, but the summary is a little bit after that. It's
after, right? If you can see it on this slide that we have on now, and this one is in first person. So I want to say that you would say, if you want to look at the summary on the slide, it says, I am motivated, educated, and active. You can take away the I am a off of it and say motivated, educated, active. So it's not that much different, but it just sounds more impactful.
And Lori, someone had submitted a question that I think is relevant for this slide. What is the main thing that you pay attention to while reviewing as a recruiter? And what stands out to employers on a LinkedIn profile?
The profile, what stands out to me is I look at the summary first, and if the summary is, it gives information and there's not a lot of fluff to it, then that's what I really look at there. And then also I tend, because I am a recruiter, I tend to scroll down more through that without there's some there's recruiters that have a lot of things to go through, and they go through these profiles within seconds. I tend to take more time. A lot of it is the professional experience and having, something that they've done while they were there, instead of, I was, marketing director at this company and I was in charge of this, and this. Well, what did I do when I was there? So that was very impactful. And also a complete profile. Sometimes people they have a picture and there's a little bit in the summary, or there's no summary, and then it looks like they spent about 5 minutes making their profile. That would be a real detriment when I'm looking at a candidate. And if they don't have a profile, that's a bigger detriment. So I look right away at if I'm looking at a resume that's been submitted for a position, I go straight after I look at the resume and I'm interested in them, I go and see what their LinkedIn profile looks like.
And that is partly answering a question that one of the audience submitted, which is, how is a LinkedIn profile different from a resume? So you kind of answered that these are two very separate things, but do you want to talk a little more on that?
I can talk about that. It gives more information. The resume is, it's your ticket to the interview. It's your you're selling yourself. But the LinkedIn profile shows a little more, especially if it's complete profile. It shows where your interests are, which you don't put on your resume. Your interests are, what you're following, how active you are, because if there's a lot on your profile, it shows that you are active, and it shows that you care about this, and that you're taking the time to give a professional presence. So, I take a lot of credibility, and I can find a lot more out of a person looking at their LinkedIn profile. And if they have recommendations, if they've given recommendations, if they're willing to give to help people, that shows something there too. You can see that in a LinkedIn profile.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Lori. We have a number of questions, and I think one relates to the slide that we are currently on. So I'll ask that, and then we can move on to the next. If you are looking for different types of jobs that emphasize different skills on your resume, should you include all of these skills on LinkedIn as well? So
in a short answer, yes. I mean, you don't know when your skill that you may not think applies to this industry or this position, it could give you added value. So, you don't want to walk away from the skills that you have. You may want to emphasize or talk more about the ones that are transferable. Almost everything is transferable to some extent. So you can focus on the ones that you feel are more pertinent to if you're changing industries or changing fields. But everything that you have and your package gives you added value. So don't discount anything that you think may not apply.
Awesome. And I'm sorry, I said we'll move on, but then somebody wants to know, what do you put for current position if you're unemployed?
That would be a headline. You could do a headline as to what you bring to the table. And then if your professional experiences, if you're not employed right now, your professional experience and the date that you were in it will show that you are no longer employed. If you want to put something in the summary that you are in transition, or you want to put something in there, you can. But again, I caution you on how many inquiries you're going to get that probably don't apply to what you're looking for. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've also seen it be successful that people put their industry in. So for example, mechanical engineering or marketing, consulting, whatever it is, and that can be effective as well.
Agreed.
Okay, I think it's a good place to move on to the next slide, and audience questions, we'll keep bringing them to you, Lori.
Okay. So the next one is increasing and utilizing your connections. We're going to spend a lot of time on this. This is what's important. You have to have that complete profile, but you have to utilize your connections, increase them. And this is where, researching is very important too. And I talked about this before. You never know who knows who. That's anyone that you can make a connection with. Who knows how they can help you in the future, or who knows how they can connect you with someone else. And one thing to remember is people want to help people. Don't be afraid to ask for help, for ideas, for informational interviews, for learning about the industry that they're in or the company. I'm hiring with XYZ company, and I see you work there 5 years ago. I'd like to pick your brain, or buy you a cup of coffee, or now have a Zoom, or some sort of a call to learn more about. And people want to share about themselves too. So people love to talk about themselves. So Shortly after meeting a professional, whether it's in a group organizational meeting or you're in a Zoom with 24 people, after you meet them, ask them to connect on LinkedIn, even if it's a friend or an acquaintance, but they are involved in a profession or involved in our, with a corporation that sounds interesting to you. Ask them to connect on LinkedIn. Use a personal message when requesting to connect, because there's ways that you can just click and they'll be invited to connect with you, but make sure that you'll stand out that way. And then if there is a specific reason that you've asked them to connect, or if they asked you to follow up with them, then send a follow-up message. And make sure you can ask your different connections to introduce you to someone that they're connected to. And it doesn't, one thing you want to make sure of is utilizing LinkedIn is to not keep in mind that you're asking for a job or asking someone that if they're hiring or if they have a position. This is where you're asking for suggestions, ideas, help, and getting to know them and how you can help them too. You may find out that there's ways that you can help them, and people, I assure you, people do not forget that. Staying in regular contact with your connections and increasing your connections builds and maintains the relationships with those professionals. And again, I think I mentioned this, you never know when a person could be a valuable resource during your career. It could be years down the road. So don't look at the now, look at the now and the future. And if there's someone that you admire, even on LinkedIn, or you've met them before, make sure that you get to know them, and you can get to know them through LinkedIn and maybe schedule phone calls, etc. Ask for informational interviews. And remember, this is not asking for a job. This is to find out more about that person, their career, things that they wish they would have done differently. It's basically interviewing them, so you're gathering information on how you can move forward with your career. If you get a message from someone, make sure that you reply promptly. If somebody sent a message to you and 2 weeks later you respond to them, that's probably more of a negative connotation than not applying at all. So I would make sure that you reply promptly. And the other thing is, you can see who has viewed your profile, and you can view this person's profile, maybe ask them to connect. But that's a really good way to find out somebody that might be interested in you. And this is a way you could connect yourself to another recruiter, because if the recruiter looked at your profile, that means they went past the summary and they're interested in you. Then make sure that you have some sort of regular engagement with your contacts, and use events and announcements as an opportunity to connect or share with them, or send them a message about it. And you can see that the theme here is staying active. View your LinkedIn feed very frequently, and when you have activity, it shows on your profile. Comment, like, share posts. Look who comments and likes posts that you like. And when sending requests to connect, maybe mention that, that post that you saw them in. And a reminder to use numerous hashtags when you do a post or you share, because that helps you to get connected with more people as well. Don't be afraid to introduce people. If you meet person A at an event, and you think person B and person A would be a very strong connection, introduce them on LinkedIn. And one thing professionals notice when you are active, and it keeps you and your name at top of mind. So they really notice that. And then make sure keep it positive and professional. This is a professional network. So always keep that in mind to draw that line and keep it totally professional.
Thank you for that, Lori. I do have a question. Well, we have a lot of questions, but one which is good, because audience questions will help bring a lot more to the webinar. One of the interesting questions is, are there spam requests on LinkedIn, and should we be cautious if somebody offers us a great opportunity out of nowhere?
I would do on something like that. Yes, there are. I mean, it's becoming more and more common. Do a little research before you respond. You can find something out about anyone on Googling someone. But if you trust your instincts, but do your research. Because you're going to find spam requests everywhere. And when I was talking about, if you put down that you are seeking new opportunities, you are going to get a lot of those type of requests, where you probably spend most of your time researching about those requests than really responding to them. And you do need to be careful.
What about articles? Somebody wants to know if articles make the profile more visible.
Articles such as posting, or you mean posting articles? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, it does. I've done a couple of tests where I've done some likes and sharing and comments, etc. And I found that more people had viewed my profile and more people had contacted me. So, and I'm a recruiter, so I connect with everyone, and recruiters always connect with each other because it gives you avenues to get connected, you know, to see other people's profiles. So I'm connected with a ton of people, but I noticed there is a rise in your in people that are interested in you if you're active on there. And liking is good, but if you can make an impactful comment, don't make a comment just to make a comment, and don't share something just to share it. And if you share it, make sure that you give some sort of a comment there. It shows that that you were thoughtful in your actions and not just trying to keep activity going.
Great. What if somebody reviewed my profile but never got in touch with me? Does it mean they are not interested, or should I contact them myself?
That's a tricky one too. I would, again, find out who this person is that looked on your profile. And it's, in my situation, usually people view my profile that are looking for a recruiter. So I wait for them to contact me another way. If someone I do some research, and if that person is connected with a company or an organization that you're very interested in, if give it a few days, and if you don't hear from them, then I'd contact them. And again, just say, hey, I noticed you were viewing my profile. Can I answer any questions for you? You don't want to be real direct, but, you know, can I answer any questions? Are you looking for some additional information that I could provide for you? So start that conversation up with them.
And Lori, that actually leads well into a question that someone submitted, which is, what is the best way to cold contact a recruiter on LinkedIn? And should people even be cold contacting people on this social network?
So you mean a job seeker contacting a recruiter?
A recruiter, yeah, and without knowing them, without having a personal connection to them.
If it's a recruiter contacting you, I would contact them back. If you want to contact a recruiter that you find on LinkedIn, I think that's perfectly fine. This is one of those things that if you don't know somebody at all, if it's a recruiter, that's fine. If you don't know someone at all that wants to connect with you, that's one of those things that you might do a little bit of research, and it depends upon your industry. As a recruiter, I would connect with almost everyone. Some people want to keep a close to the chest or whatever, you know, anybody that they know they'll connect with. But most of those folks, if you're new in your career, you need to be a little more welcoming to making connections, because you don't want to start, I don't know this person, so I'm not going to connect with them. Well, connecting with people is the way that you can expand your connections and your network. So you can have your own values about it, but I do think that when you are new in your career, you probably should be, connect with someone versus not, unless you do research on them and decide, I just don't want to be connected to this person. That's fine too. And sometimes there are people that are looking for positions, and they are people from their company are trying to connect with them. That's one of those reasons you may not say, you don't want to say I'm seeking new opportunities, and all of a sudden you're connected with people in your company, and then that gets around too. So, just kind of think ahead of what connecting with this person will do, and what will they see on your LinkedIn profile.
Lori, for people who are already employed and not looking for a job, how much activity should they have? Should they also stay active? And if yes, how much? How active?
That's even more important, because you never know when you're going to need those connections. How often? It depends. Again, I maybe once a week, once every few weeks. Actually, I'm on every single day. I have it on my, I have the app on my lap or my tablet, and I scroll through every single day. But people, I'd say the minimum of once a week, and just go on and maybe make a comment about something, or like something, or make sure that you start working on, if you don't have a lot of you should have minimum of 50 connections. If you don't, start looking at people that you could connect with, and maybe use your time to try to, time allotted to LinkedIn to connect with more professionals.
Well, I know we have a poll question for our audience right now, but multiple people have asked whether to choose the premium LinkedIn or if the free version is okay. So if we can get to that question.
Sure. The free one, try it and see if it works. I wouldn't recommend automatically going to premium. What premium does is it gives you access to people. You can send messages to people that you are not connected with. You can also see more of who has viewed your profile. If you are an active job search, I'd try the free for a little while, and if you feel like you're not getting a lot of traction, then you might try the premium. And there's different levels of that too, depending on what you're looking for. So, and I think the job seeker one is probably the minimal cost. So that's there are some benefits of that. And if you're going to be active in seeking out people to talk with or to send messages to, you might consider premium. But I'd actually try the free one, see how that works and see if you're getting any traction that way.
And I'll add to that too. I think that the free one for most people is going to be just fine. The other thing is, if you're running into roadblocks where you're not feeling like you're making those connections, then contact one of us and we can talk you through how to keep making those connections on there.
Awesome. Okay, so our next poll question is, have you ever contacted someone to set an informational interview via LinkedIn? Whoa, okay. So it was amazing because it started with 100% at no, but we have a LinkedIn profile, but thankfully that's changing now. So we have about 15, let's say closer to 11% people who have set up about one informational interview. We do have somebody who never heard back, but most people, 76% of our population hasn't set up an informational interview via LinkedIn.
Can I make a comment? Sometimes this is one of those daunting things. I would ask someone to help you. If you've never done it before, you can maybe talk with someone that you're a connection with, that they're connected with, or maybe even they suggested, but use someone's, someone will give you permission to use your names. I was talking to Joe yesterday and he suggested I contact you, that you might have some some great information for me. So make it a little more personal than, I'd like to set up a time to talk with you, kind of and if someone could introduce you through LinkedIn, that's great. But if not, ask if you can use their name as, I was talking to Joe the other day and he suggested that I contact you. So it makes it a little of a softer invite.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And the other thing that you can do, and we'll show you the link later on, but connect to our Beaver Careers group. We have over 6,300 or almost 6,300 alumni on there. That can be a great way to connect to someone. I have a lot of connections. You can connect with me, you can connect with Lori, you can connect with Mamta. One of us might know someone. So even just the Alumni Association itself can be a wonderful place for you to connect with people.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect with anyone. And I have a lot of connections too. So, and as a recruiter, there are a lot of us recruiters. We're connected with people that we don't know or we've never met, but it's kind of it's a club. It's an organization. We're all recruiters. We're all here for the same reason. We're all here to help each other. So I'll be happy if you see someone I'm connected with. I'll be happy to introduce you to that person.
That's great. Thank you, Lori. We're going to talk a little bit about using multiple job search methods. And I really loved the question about the informational interview and the things that Lori shared about that. If there's any one takeaway that I hope you get from this, besides using LinkedIn, and that LinkedIn is a great tool, is use LinkedIn to get those informational interviews. And that, I think that is the #1 best method for job searching, for increasing your connections, etc. And that leads well into this slide, which is online connections. When possible, you can also do some in person. Obviously, right now, the focus is going to be more online, which is just fine because LinkedIn is great for that. I also recommend joining professional associations of volunteering. And the way that can work is if you join a professional association, one is you can actually do information interviews with board members, with volunteers. So for example, Lori Rush is on our Alumni Association board. So you can do an information interview with her, and you can find out from her what her professional career is, what she likes about it, etc. And then at the end of it, you can ask her, hey, Lori, Yulia said I should ask you for 1 to 2 additional contacts. Could you connect me with someone that you know that I could speak with? And then that way you're just constantly building up your network. And a professional association, that can be anything. So any field has them. My biggest recommendation for professional association involvement is to actually go regionally. So if you have, let's say you're looking in the Pacific Northwest and you join the one in Pacific Northwest, or if you're doing a national search, you can do a national one. And then volunteering just gets your name out there. A lot of professions can use volunteering if you're in between jobs, or if just to get into the company organization. So those are the main organizations. And then we do have a poll question next that Mamta is going to introduce.
Yeah, before we go to the poll question, there are some questions which relate to this and the previous slide from the audience for you, Yulia, and for you, Lori. One of the questions is, what is the best way to reach out for informational interviews without knowing somebody, or when you're not actively looking for a new job?
Yep. So I recommend information interviews to people, whether you're job searching or not. And the way that you could do it is send a quick, short little message to them by asking to connect with them. And if there's some kind of a commonality with you, let's say they're an OSU alum, or you're in the same industry, or you know the same person, or let's say you get a recommendation from myself or someone else, then you say, oh, I'm also an OSU alum. What you do looks really interesting. I'm doing some career exploration. I'd love to know a little bit more about what you do. And it can be as little as just a 15-minute conversation. And you don't have to be talking about jobs or your own job searching, and you don't even have to talk about yourself at all. Just ask them questions. What do they do? What is it like, etc. And you can be doing this at all times, whether you're job searching or not. And I encourage people to think of themselves as a networker and as someone who's constantly meeting people, regardless of what stage in the career you're at. Lori, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with everything that you said. And it's again, the job search is, when doing it with your job search is imperative, but also doing it throughout your career, just get it. And it's increasing your knowledge, increasing your network. And again, that never know who knows who knows who. I totally agree. I don't really have much to add. The only thing that I'd like to add on this list is the impact and the importance of volunteering and community service when you are not working. That helps in many different ways. It shows on your resume that you're not just sitting around waiting to find a job. You are doing something with your time, and you are learning something, and you are giving back. It also can help you with connections. I've seen that happen before with, if you help and volunteer, just make sure if you are an active job search and you volunteer and give of yourself for community service, make sure that you're disciplined enough to not spend all your time volunteering and not look for a job and not be in job search. So you've got to have a little bit of a discipline in scheduling your time and time management too, but it's very, very important, because it could be, that's kind of one of those quiet job search things. You just never know when you might meet someone.
Yeah, good points, Lori. One of the questions is also about accepting connections if you don't know the individual. Is there a risk of personal identification and any other risk before accepting all invites that you get on LinkedIn?
Yes, there is. There's more and more risk with everything that's going on now. But I'd go online and Google that person and see what comes up, and look at their LinkedIn profile. Look and see what they do. I've had some people, even though I am a recruiter, I have some people that I have declined just because I've done some research on them and looked at their profile, and I'm not quite sure why they would connect with me. And so, sometimes when you're in your LinkedIn page profile, it brings up people that you might know that you might want to connect with. And I can tell some people just went through and clicked everything, and because I came up with some sort of a connection. So look to see what kind of a connection, look to see what industry they're in, where they're located, et cetera, et cetera. And if you choose, you can choose not to. You can just ignore their invite.
Yeah, this reminds me, in one of our previous panels, which we had, which was titled, I Wish I Knew, one of the alumni shared very valid information, which was like, when you send a request to somebody to connect on LinkedIn, include a short message.
Right.
For example, if you're connecting with Lori or Yulia or me after this webinar, just say, hey, I listened to you during the webinar today on LinkedIn best practices. And that way we don't have to go and search through the profile to know if it's valid or not. And when you receive a request with a message, it's easy for you to establish that connection and decide whether you want to connect or not.
Yeah, and I think, if there's a very, very good comment, Mamta, if there's a personal message, that'll tell you right away where your connection is. And if there's not, that's where you want to take that extra time to do some research.
Yeah, and I accept pretty much most people who want to connect with me. I have had fake profiles follow up with me, or people who want to talk about things that aren't career related, and I'm just very straight with them. I don't connect with people unless it's a professional thing, and then if anyone starts messaging me and it's not a professional thing, I just cut them off and then I disconnect with them. So you can draw your own boundaries around it. I do find that more connections is helpful on LinkedIn. So if you're able to open up, and I have, I think, over 1,700, maybe 1,800 people I'm connected to. I obviously don't know that many people, but I never know when someone knows someone who can then help. And I have sometimes people reaching out to me, a student or alum, they say, oh, looks like you're connected to this person. Can you introduce me? And even if I've never met them, I still make the introduction. And it still works, and they still connect on there.
That's the power of the 200,000 plus Beaver alumni all across the globe, people. So that's a network, as Lori said during her introduction, that's a network we can all take advantage of. And Yulia and myself at the Alumni Association are very happy to help make those connections if we can. There was a question, Yulia, you mentioned disconnecting with people. And there was a question about, if you connect with someone, but later you feel like it isn't the best connection, is there a way to disconnect?
Yes, and it's really easy, and you just go into their profile and then you click on unfollow and unconnect. I've done that on a number of occasions. Sometimes people's posts are inappropriate. Sometimes, like I said, the profile's fake, or maybe they're trying to sell me something and I'm not interested, and I'll just disconnect.
Awesome. Lori, I have two questions for you. The first is from a recruiter's point of view. From a recruiter's point of view, there is a question that if we, how is the best way to get through a recruiter when you don't get response? So this person has messaged several recruiters trying to connect, but doesn't get replies from them. So from a recruiter standpoint, what would you advise them to do?
I'm as representing the profession, I'm sorry that they did not respond to you. Some recruiters just do not respond unless they have you fit the mold of a position that they're looking for. And that's just, there's so many recruiters out there, and everyone has their different levels of involvement with candidates. I would try a few times. If there's a way you could send your resume through LinkedIn, if there's a way you can contact them, find out their email and contact them at their office, I'd try a couple of different methods, and they should have their contact information on there, their email and their phone. I'd maybe check it, rather than going through LinkedIn, try using their email address. And you want to have multiple ways of contacting people if it doesn't happen through a LinkedIn. Now, and this is a recruiter's thing, but sometimes when you send I'm going to interject a little bit, when you send a message to someone asking for an informational interview, sometimes people do not look on their LinkedIn profile for a while. So give them a little bit of slack on time, but recruiters should be contacting you. But I'd check another method of contacting them, or the office, et cetera. And then if you don't hear, then you probably don't need to work with them, and look for some other recruiters you can work with, because there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of them that are willing to help.
Lori, one question specifically for you is, do you have any red flags that you watch out for spam accounts or requests?
Oh, sometimes when people, when the wording on it is, there's way too much wording on it, and the wording doesn't, sometimes the wording doesn't, it looks like the person did not put together a very good profile, or it looks like they cut and paste a lot of different things. There's so many different ways. I don't have any specific, oh, I'm not going to connect with them because of this. There's so many different ways people can do it. Sometimes there's, you know, I've come across one that was not, that was a hacked account, and the photo was really fuzzy. And that was the only way I found out. The photo was really fuzzy, and what professional would put a fuzzy picture on their profile? But I wish I could give you one answer, but it's just, and some of it is, you know, in my experience, it's like a gut feeling, like this just doesn't look right. But I wish I could give you an exact answer. Yulia, do you have any comments on that?
Oh, I liked the idea of the fuzzy picture. I think you can tell by the text too. And if just look at what schools are following and look at what other things are following. I think somehow, and I agree with you that it's a gut feeling. I look at the profile and it just, the whole thing looks fake based on all the other profiles I've seen. The photo, the descriptions, everything doesn't make sense.
Well, it looks like I have a comment from one of our attendees who says he is unable, or they are unable to message us because they need premium membership apparently to message the three of us. I think what you can do in that case is just send us a connection request, and you should be able to include a message in the connection request itself, just stating, you know, connecting through the webinar. On LinkedIn best practices. And once we accept your request, you will be able to start communicating with us and messaging us without requiring a premium account. Does that sound correct to you, Yulia and Lori?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and if you still have a problem, please email us. So osualum.com/winning has my email address on it. So please email me and I'll be happy to connect you to Yulia and Lori as well. But I'm already receiving some invites on LinkedIn, so I know that you should be able to connect with us, and we'll be happy to chat and message thereon. Thank you. Okay, poll question. I'm excited with the number of audience questions because it's bringing out so much more information, but I will control that and get to our poll question. So this question is for us to understand how we can help you. So please let us know if you are currently mid-job search, and you have 3 simple choices: yes, no, or preparing to job search. This is probably the most balanced poll result I'm seeing, and it's changing very, very quickly. So we have about, I know it's moving very quickly. So we have about 28% people who are actually mid-job search. And I can personally vouch for connections with Yulia for informational interviews and for profile reviews. I had my LinkedIn profile reviewed by Yulia. Yeah, she's that good. So please do not hesitate to reach out for that. There are 34% people who are not currently searching for jobs, but we have 37% who are preparing to job search. And Lori here is a recruiter, so I don't need to tell you how important it is to connect with her, impress her. She's easy to impress, she's super nice, and very helpful. So I hope you'll make, take advantage of these connections. And I hope all of you have the dream job that you're looking for, but we'll continue to the rest of our webinar for now.
I do want to make a comment, if I can, about recruiters. And I kind of gave a little bit about this, is there are so many recruiters out there. It's a high turnover industry. Work with a recruiter that you feel comfortable working with. If you keep trying to get a hold of them and they say, send us your resume, I'll call you when I need you, or they won't respond, there are lots of other recruiters out there that will work with you. So don't take it personally. Just find someone that you make a connection with and that will work with you, and that will work with you to find something. So, and I would make sure that everyone should have some sort of a connection with a recruiter. you don't want it. That's an avenue that you always want to have. I call it the three-legged stool of job search. It's that, you know, one of them should be a recruiter that knows what's out there, and that could even just help you with connections as well.
Well, I know we are on the summary slide, but we have a lot of audience questions. Yulia, how are you doing on the questions that were submitted during registration?
I think we got most of them. The only thing that we haven't covered is should my description from each job on the profile mirror my resume, or should they be brief and phrased differently than my resume?
I think they should mirror the resume. I recommend to my career consultants that they basically copy and paste from their resume. So it's the exact same thing. It should mirror it.
One of the, Lori, are you okay if we go through some of these questions now and
Sure.
see if we have time?
Well, I think, yeah, everybody can see, you know, the summary is just basically what we talked about. So it's just kind of a recap of everything that we talked about today. So you can, when you review the LinkedIn or the presentation, this is just a summary. So I think questions are more important at this point.
Thank you. So one of the questions is, can I load a non-chronological resume into LinkedIn? So if somebody has a lot of experience and a lot of different jobs they have been in, is it important to have them in that sequence?
Yes. I think a non-chronological resume is called a functional resume. And usually, this is, you know, everybody's a little bit different, but as a recruiter, when we look at that, our first reaction is they're trying to hide something, and you want to see what they have done. Yeah, you can't hide your experience. Put your experience in there, but if there is something you want to pivot to another career, make sure that the accomplishments that you have under the experience shows a skill that's transferable. You can use your summary, but don't make the summary way too long, but you can use the summary to talk about a few things too, but do not walk away from putting in that professional experience and the dates and what you did. Yulia, do you have a comment on that?
I think that's good advice.
Okay.
So another attendee says, my company is currently hiring. I'm seeing a spike in profile views. Any suggestions for helping those looking for new opportunities on how to best position my company to attract excellent candidates?
Yulia, you want to take that one, and I can follow up.
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. So it's actually from the company recruiters, and they're trying to position themselves. So I would say the same thing. Be active.
Okay. I thought it was okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Be active. Join groups, post so that you're visible. And then I found that I've actually recruited positions on LinkedIn, and it was amazing. I just posted that we're hiring on there, and with the link to the position, and people can be active and find it. But I think a lot of the stuff we talked about can apply to recruiting as well. Lori, what do you think?
Yeah, but my answer was be active, post that you're hiring, post that you're looking for, post that you're looking for new talent, and be active. Be out there and be active.
Okay, this is more of a technical question. Somebody was trying to adjust their intro on LinkedIn, but they are not able to select multiple education. They cannot select both their undergrad and their grads. The drop-down limits them to just one option. We can get to this offline as well, Yulia, but I was wondering if you knew something very quickly, if either of you knew how to list both your educational degrees.
So you should be able to list every single degree. Just go through it one by one. So first, if you have an associate's, you can list the associates, then the bachelor's, and the master's, and the PhD, etc. So you can just, so right now, I think you would just be posting one of your degrees, and then in the next drop down, you can post another degree.
Awesome. If a recruiter introduces you to a professional in your field, what is an appropriate way of asking that professional to connect on LinkedIn after the interview?
The interview with that professional or with a recruiter?
I'm assuming with the professional. So you got introduced to somebody, and after you have an interview with them.
I put it in your invite, just put it in a little short note about in the invite. And if it was someone that you've interviewed with, I really enjoyed learning more about such and such, and I'd like to connect with you, or just ask them for the connection, but just make it personal. Put in a note just explaining why you want to connect with them.
Okay. So Lori, have you ever recruited anyone abroad through LinkedIn? If, and this person doesn't reside in the US anymore, should they be seeking connections with US professionals?
Yes, I would. I have not worked abroad. I've talked with people abroad, but I think you have to have the connections wherever you're seeking to find a position.
Okay. And do you get more hits if you're employed versus when you share that you are actually unemployed?
Well, you're going to get a lot more you're getting a lot more hits when you say that you're unemployed, but it'll probably be with people that you're not interested in working. I mean, there's certain industries that they look for something like that and they're automatically going to send something to you. So the answer is yes, but they're not going to be the quality hits, as many quality hits.
Okay. And should the job descriptions and accomplishments be listed in third person as well? Or is it okay to have them in first person?
Everything in third person.
Okay. That was short and sweet.
Yulia, do you have any? Are you agree?
I agree. Yeah, third person.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I'm trying to find questions which we haven't already addressed in some way. Any advice on how to manage a profile or respond to recruiters if you are not actively looking for a different position?
Say, thank you for contacting me. I'm not interested in new opportunities.
Yeah, and be thankful because you're getting it. Okay. Is there a particular industry that LinkedIn is more useful for? What is the main benefit of LinkedIn, the networking or having a public resume or something else? So that's a two-part question. Is there an industry that it's more popular for?
Boy, Yulia, do you have?
I think most industries very popular. I would say the ones that aren't as popular are academics. So if you're maybe looking for some kind of an instructor or teaching faculty position, most likely they're not active. But anything in finance, business, marketing, computer science, really the up and coming fields are all going to be very LinkedIn heavy.
Yeah.
And is networking the main benefit of LinkedIn or having a public resume or something else?
Both, but I would say the networking.
Both. Yeah, both, but networking.
Okay, so I know we are just 2 minutes over time, so I think we'll end with one last question.
I do have one follow-up. Sorry, Mamta. A lot when recruiters and hiring managers go to look for people at LinkedIn, they're looking for people and they're going to contact people for their candidacy. So, having that, it's for networking, but it's also when you have it up there, recruiters and hiring managers are going to see your profile and look, to talk with you about positions. So it's talent management as well, but networking is the number one. Sorry, I know we're running out of time.
I know, but well, this one can be a short, quick answer. How do we make our LinkedIn profile stand out if we don't have very many accomplishments?
Your skills. I mean, you've got it. Anything that you have done would show your skills. And a lot of times people don't think certain things are accomplishments, and they really are. If you thought of a new way of doing something, you thought of a more organized way of doing something, that's an accomplishment. I mean, people are thinking accomplishments as being grandiose things, and they're not. It's anything that you did to help the organization be more efficient, make more money, save more money, etc.
True. Well, I do have a few more questions, but I think I'm going to invite all of you to connect with Lori, Yulia, and myself on LinkedIn, or email Yulia and me, and we'll help you get those answers. More or less, all of the topics have been addressed, and I can only say, wow, this was so much of good information and tips, and I promise you that your LinkedIn profile will definitely stand out once you put these in practice, because I know how good Yulia and Lori are, and I know what wonders the profiles have done for me. So thank you, Lori, and thank you, Yulia, for adding on to those. Please remember to send us your questions or go to osualum.com winning to look for the presentation and the recording of this webinar. Please don't forget to send that page to your friends who may not have been able to attend right now, but who could benefit from listening into these tips. Thank you to all of you who are already making my phone buzz with all the requests. I appreciate all of you, and I'm looking forward to be able to help you. This was our last webinar in the series as of now, and I'm especially thankful to all of you who have joined us in all of the Winning in Life series. I hope it has been helpful, but I look forward to continue to work with each one of you through events, through webinars, and through mutually helping each other out. Yulia, Lori, great presentation. Thank you so much. Lori, we couldn't have asked for a better speaker. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.